Hey people, I found my old Rubble account and I started a channel there, Strictly Educational Magic. I used to investigate all the false flags that I would see on TV. Anytime I seen news that just didn't add up, I would investigate it. And a lot of people used to do that 4 years ago, and YouTube had shut us all down, made us quit doing that. So if I see some bullshit going on, I'll be putting it on this Rumble account, and I'll leave this link right there in the top to this Strictly Educational Magic Rumble. So I got some good stuff here. I figured out what York actually means, as in New York, and a couple of these words. But I got some updates on reading this. The first vowel point they'll teach you when you learn Hebrew is this one that goes above the S. And they'll say if it's on this side, it's a shin, and you pronounce it SH. And if it's on this side, it's not. And if it's on both sides, they'll say it's a shin. And if there's none, it's not, which makes no sense. But I done figured out that's all bullshit. This is a O up here. And if it's on this side, it means you're reading an O before the S. And if it's on this side, it means you're reading an O after the S. If it's on both sides, it's an O-so. And if it's none, it's just a S. And just like this valve here, when you see a point above it, it means to put an O in front of the letter. You see how it's an O-W, the O valve. And several of the letters would change the point from side to side. And what it does, it adds a O, just like this, a O after. And I done figured out that that's what this dot above this S means. If it's on the right side, you add a O before, and if it's on the left side, you add a O after. You know, the same as this E here. That's how they get this O and this L-O-M. You know, it's a A-L and a dot and a E-I-M. And so they turn this dot into a O between the L and the E. And this little diamond up here, it gets confusing a lot, but what it means is move the A on the other side. So instead of affir, this is the word when, and she called his name, or affirmed him to. It moves the A between the Q and the R, and it makes it afar. And the logical explanation of why it would sometimes be there and sometimes not, and they would give it all the same word, is because it would read different ways. In one time you're reading the directional markings and the sounds on the top, and another time you're reading without it. So in one reading it's a far, and in one reading it's a fur. So I've been reading this Isaiah 44. I did it in the Greek. I read most of it in the Greek, called a folder called Paiadora. And I was having trouble at the end, so I came to read it here in the Hebrew. In the last movie I read the top 5 lines here, and it seemed to be talking about Mercury here, the Jackal Bob Davy. And it looks like this is what they're teasing in this chapter here, is this Davy. And you see it in this other word, you know, when you're reading the upper markings, you know, it's O-D-Y, Audi. And when you're reading the lower markings, you know, it's O-E, it's O, and then D-A-V-Y. And so if there was a dot inside this D, it would read the same either way. That would tell you to pick up the lower markings, so it would be, you know, O Davy, of Davy, or, and on the lower, you know, you're reading all these markings, so it's O-E, which becomes older, old Davy. And that's my witness, you know, Davy is affidavit, is a oath, my witness. So these first 5 lines, you know, reading with the upper markings, it was talking about, Jacob Davy, which is, you know, somebody, the jack of, the works of, and then Bob, you know, to avoid of the oath. But it seemed to be talking about Mercury, or the Fool card, or the Jester to the King, which was also, you know, in the chart above, was also the astrologer. And then down here it starts talking about the moon and Athena. So I've been reading this O point above this S like this for a couple days, and it fits in. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. And so I've been reading is a marker to tell you to pull the bottom mark as and is surreal si, but that's just when you're reading the lower markings. This means this reads in is oral, oral, is spoken is what that means, is oral. So I say that the Hebrew is the book of the moon and the Greek is the book of the sun. And so that's what this means when it's talking about only one is God. And so it's talking about the moon here. Last move I was telling you, this is the cocoa, and it means the head. And then the herm. And so herm's not necessarily the statue of the herm, but it's also, the herm is the sister, Kokaharma, the head sister. To head the harem, the sister in charge. And then more of the high Maria. And Emil is a word means the queen. If you're talking about a beehive, Emil is the queen bee. And in Indonesian and other Asian languages, Imlek is the lunar calendar. The Indonesian name for the Chinese calendar. And Imlek is a keepsake for a memory, a memory, souvenir, relic. And so, all these words are real similar, and that's how they'll change up when you're reading the lower markings to the upper markings, and then straight with the letters, it changes the meaning from the queen, from the memory, or to the lunar calendar, which is also, the queen, the moon. So the head, the Coco Harma, the head sister, Mar, High, Maria, and Emil, it's where the word female coming from, the queen, the animal in a hive, the female animal of a hive, mother, and the Vimel, Kilar, Kilr, and that's where your word the chiller come from. The chiller is the head of the army, the chiller, killers, plural of kill, cold, chilly, cold-hearted, cold-blooded. The sun's hot and the moon's cold. The chilly arch is the leader of 1024, commander of 1024. The head sister, High Maria, and Emil, and Queen Chiller, the Queen Commander, and then the dot says the O after the S, so it's a so, and then is, and then the dot again, oral. So is oral. And the Queen Commander, so is oral, the one with the word. And go, VGO. And go all, and then OV, and go all of, and go all of. And go all of you, X, vout. Vout as in devout, ETS. And go all of you, it's vout. You're devoted to the Queen Moon. And Anura, Anira, Anura Ocean, Oson, Anura Ocean. And that's surely where your word honor come from. But it's a Muslim name meaning intelligent and fearless. Also a Hindu name, same thing. And Ocean was this worldwide spirit deity of the fresh water. It was in Africa, it was in Americas and the islands. During the mortal life, she was the queen consort to the King Shango, patron saint of the ocean river. With a 2-week-long festival, it takes place in August. But also here in Brazil, they'll say it was adopted, and also called Lady of Fertility and Moon, the freshwater deity. Receives the prayers of women who wish to have children and protect them during pregnancy. Also called Mama, Mammy. Also in the Caribbean, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Trinidad. And they'll try to say it was brought over with the African slave trade, but hey, the Greeks had the same water deity, the ocean. You see, here's a pronunciation, the ocean. And so this K is pronounced as the C. Ocean, the ocean as, sometimes spelt with a OG, Ogenos, husband of his sister and father of the river gods. And according to M.L. West, the etymology of Oceanus is obscure and cannot be explained from Greek. That's because there's no such thing as Greek back then. It's ancient English alchemy. You know, his father was the heaven and his mother was the earth, and had 11 siblings. You know, that magic number 12 you find all throughout the Bible. Was written about in the Iliad. You know, the travels, the oceans. And his picture looks a hell of a lot like this god that's with Athena. It might be Medusa with that old fucked up hairdo. You know, Medusa. And go all of you, it's about honor ocean. And then there's two N's, the Nua, the waters of Naya, N-Y-A, Naya hurry of. Naya hurry of. The one that comes in last, it's because he is Naya a hurry of. He ain't no big hurry. And Nua, you know, that's your Egyptian word for the waters. In honor of ocean, Nua, the ocean waters, Naya hurry of. And then this final ends reading over here with the num, N-U-M, numbaladi, the numbaladi. And so this word here means that's exactly what it means. It means to walk like an Egyptian, the Egyptian folk dance. And it kind of just means country. Anywhere you would put country, you know, country music, country dance, you know, they dance in all country, or love of the country. And we'll see that a lot in here, the love of country. But that's what it means, is the country people from Egypt, the Egyptian folk dance. And so you'll see it come up, you know, with an I and sometime with a Y. And it's the same as in the Egyptian, you know, the I, when they double up the I, it makes it a Y. And even the Arabics to say it means native or local. And so you'd use it as in your country. You're a local, you're from this country. And it's also where your word ballet come from. It's the dance, the ballad and the ballet. And you can see even the Irish, you know, they had the same word as the Egyptians for new. The new flood. The flood comes in new, the high waters, and it renews everything. They didn't get this from the neo, from the Greek. They got it from the Egyptian. The new, fresh, recent. In honor of ocean, new, nigh a hurry. And not in a hurry of, you know, O-V and an N. The numb balade of the dance, the country dance. Walk like an Egyptian, of the anal, the ass of him, oh him, the anal of him. And you can see the base of this word where it comes up the most from the ballad, or just the base, you know, it's just the ballady. And they say it's nothing. And they will give the ball, they'll say it's another word for not often. I imagine that's why some of those churches won't dance. But they'll change it up when they put it in front of God, then it's me. So God is the dance of the planets. And then they'll say it's beside often. But it, became the dance when the old country people had moved to the city and they were trying to perform their country dance in small spaces. And that's where a lot of those fast dances, those Irish dances come from. You know, because you can see it, you know, the ballet is spelt with a T. And, that D and T will mix up in languages. And you see it come up here with a love of country, and same here, you know, my, and a love of from country. And you can see several other words in here that have the same meanings. You know, when the acorns fall, you know, that's the end of the season. That's Halloween when the acorns is falling. A new Vani. Vani is the sea monster. And new, the water's new is in most every language. If you look up new, you see it means water in most languages. And so the dance, was the nimbaladi, the very nimble dance, the nimbaladi of the anal, the behind of him. And Coca Herma Mar Maria, the head Herma, the head of the harem, the head sister of Mar, of High Maria, of Vemel, the queen chiller, the queen commander. So is Oro, so she says. And go all of you, it's about honor ocean, new Anaya hurry of nimbaladi anal of him. And this one's real easy to read here, 7. So this dot after this vav here either means two vavs or it means a O after possibly. It'd be end of, the O is of, or just, two vavs, as UV is of, and of my, and then backwards, in, and then OV, in of make. And of my, in of make, made in my fashion. And the moving, MOVNI is ing, and moving. And that's surely where your word moon come from, the MOUN. And of my, in of make, moving, afar, from a distance, IFAR, afar, who gade, GAID, and the D and the TH, the tet, are interchangeable. And so that's a gait. And a gait is, the length of your legs. Your gait is the distance in your steps. What you're walking over is your gait. And of my, and of make, made in the fashion of mine, the moving afar, who gate. And then the EU here, the evolve is who York. And who York, and then E, and then come back and get the KE with these upmarking a key. Who York here, and then ELII, the lie. Who York here, the lie. And this base word, is just the orc or York, and they'll give it a bunch of meanings. But you see here, it shall keep in order, or shall keep. They'll say it's comparable, or value, or estimate, a your ick. And as a torque, the TORK with just the letters gives a good idea of what it means. Not prepare, but yeah, prepare kind of fits in there, but to torque, it's to twist, to shape under pressure. And with just the ORKU here, to line, to order, draw up your battle lines. And that's what York means. It means the line. And you can see opposite in the Greek, let him declare it and set in order. And that let him declare it, that comes from who, and then GAY, gay and happily, and say it loud, who, to York. And you see here in the Greek, it's on a gig, GG, on a gig they lotto, they chance. On a gig they lotto. And here again, let them announce is on a gig they chances on, they lottos on a line they chances on. And so that's the gig line. In the military, they come for inspection. They checking your gig line. They want to make sure you got all your seams straight in line down the front, your belt buckle and your pant lap and your shirt lap, all has to be lined up, the gig line. You might have to torque your belt around to get your pants and your shirt all lined up with your chin and your navel and your dick. And you see that gig here, and that's when they're reading the lower, the dot and the G, they'll say that's 2 G's. Who gigged, who York, who straightened the line. You see it again here with the two G's, the dot and the G, to make gigged to. And so this might be read, and Omi, and homie is usually my people. And, my, M-Y is where that comes from. My, of make, moving afar from a distance. I can make it move from a distance. Who gate, who York. Who gate, who walked over the line, who York. The line, a key here. The lie, the line here, the lie, L-Y. And then there's two I's, you're reading the vowel point above is the lie. And then this one is going with the I-M-S, is plural hymns. And hymns, and then the dot says two S's, so you grab this O, and it's assume. And the lie hymns assume, and set in order for me since I appointed is, to York, here the lie, here they lie, them's assume. And then this Y is reading with this O-M, yom, the day. And then this is mellow, M-L-O-W. And then the final O is of, the mellow of. And then O-W-L, the owl, the old. The mellow of old from. And this ancient word for the color purple is what that means. The day of mellow the old from. And this is coming from the ancient word for the marshmallow. The French pronounce this the mauve. But another name for the color is mallow. And it comes in several shades. But it comes from the mauvine, the first commercial, aniline dye. Aniline dye comes in a Crayola, in a purple, in an opera, in a taupe, in a old mauve, in the old mallow, and that was the color of the kings. And it's also the color of the moon. You see in all the trees, you saw the foundation, the color of the moon, for the moon. And in my go-to, the one that has the most information. Since I appointed the people ancient, assume the day of the moon from the mallow old, from the color purple, the day of the moon. Of me and of make, moving afar. Who gate, who York. Here the lions assume. Yom Malo Olam, the day of the purple, the day of the moon. Veo tia out. Veo, V-A-O, is a space, a void. If you have a bunch of pictures hanging on the wall for the employee of the month and there's a space where there's not one there, that's what a veo is. It's a space where reserved for something, a veo. And tia is female, it's where your word auntie come from. And the space of her out. To space her out, then the veos, the spaces are to bone they gate to. And so bone, a B-O-A-N. And so a bowen, that's a serpent, a singular of the boa. That's a Latin word because they'll say this snake originates from Italy. And it's snake in all the languages except this one. They'll say it means the moon. First mentioned by Pliny, unknown origin. Ancient Greek, the boas, meaning ox, large, or tree. Large snake native to Rome and Italy. Veo or veos, plural, a gap, a vacant spot, a hole in the wall where a window or door is placed. And the gait, as a person's manner of walking, I think gait, the gait would be the walk, and the gait would be past tense, walked. And of my, and of make, and made in style I make 'em. Moving afar, who gayed, who walked, who strutted. In York here, the Lions assume Yom, like Yom Kippur, the day of Kippur, and the Yom Malo of Olam. And so Malo of Olam, and the gate here, and the Veo, and the space, and then, Tia, Tia. And you see, the et is the feminine. In the ancient Egyptian, the et is added on to give it a feminine quality. In French, and the space Tia out, O-U-T, the spacer out. Veos are to bone. The snake they walked over. They gade will move. And the boa you gade will move. You step over the snake and he goes on out. And so it's talking about all these qualities of Athena in here. Wisdom in warfare, handicraft. Major symbols including owls, olive trees, snakes. And the symbols was the shield and helmet, spear, and armor. And that's another word that gade means, is a spear. So that's probably what it comes up one time, is the spear. And her symbol was the little owl. You see with the olive and the moon here. The owl meaning the owl. You see her with a big old boa constrictor here. As she gates by, the serpent moves. And you see here with the heracles, you see his lion skin on his head with the paws on it untied. And this is fiction. Ain't nobody going to get naked to fight with a lion. You don't even want to mess with your cat naked. And at the Austrian Parliament building, used for a symbol of freedom and democracy. And that would be her on the Great Seal of California. So I'm not going to have time to get this next line in and go over all that. I'm going to put that in the next movie. I thought I was going to get this in, but it gets into too much over here I want to get into. It talks about who the god Tia and who the god of love is. This is the god of love. They as love, L-O-V-E. And here it has markings and reads more. But it comes up 40 times like this. And here, it's by more is, by morum, what is. The AE becomes the ES, what is a love. But you art a god. By more is what is a love. And so it must be talking about that god I met when I took that DMT trip. Because that's what he told me his name was. But I'm definitely going to have to get off in this some more. But most of the time, it reads a couple different ways. When you read the bottom, it has a bunch more markings. The top marks are just, a love, L-O-V-E. And then underneath the O, the love of. And this is like it'd be a fun one to get into in Job 323. Why is two eyes there? Why is there a love of voodoo? A V-O-O and a D-O-U. Why is there a love of voodoo? And the love of them was there shady. Oh, shady love. Man reproves God. So this is like it'd be fun to get into. So in the next movie in this Pyadora series, I'll read over these two lines again real quick, put it all together before I start reading this one. But I'm probably going to do a movie here before that, because I really want to look into this God of love. And I'm going to call him, the God of Job, because it's used here, 40 times, and looks like 34 of those times are in Job. And so that was the God of Job, it looks like, was the God of love. And you'll see this word come up several times beside this word that says from the country. You can see how here it has two Y's. It's the YY. And so it's not talking about an adjective. It's talking about the country that you're from. And it's a love, a L-O-V-E. And then the O, and then back up here. V and two E's. A love of, and he from biology, from country. A love of country. And so it talks about this love of country several times. So I'm going to look at these two words in the next movie, and I'll get back to this folder and read down here to 8 and work on my way down. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.